The Enûma Eliš is the Babylonian creation mythos. It was recovered by Austin Henry Layard in 1849 in the ruined library of Ashurbanipal at Nineveh, and published by George Smith in 1876. The Enûma Eliš has about 1,000 lines and is recorded in Old Babylonian on 7 clay tablets, each holding between 115 and 170 lines of Sumero-Akkadian cuneiform script. Most of Tablet V has never been recovered but, aside from this lacuna, the text is almost complete. A duplicate copy of Tablet V has been found in Sultan Tepe, ancient Huzirino, near the modern town of Sanliurfa in Turkey. This epic is one of the most important sources for understanding the Babylonian worldview, centered on the supremacy of Marduk and the creation of humankind for the service of the gods. Its primary original purpose, however, is not an exposition of theology or theogony but the elevation of Marduk, the chief god of Babylon, above other Mesopotamian gods. The Enûma Eliš exists in various copies from Babylon and Assyria. The version from Ashurbanipal's library dates to the 7th century BCE. The composition of the text probably dates to the Bronze Age, to the time of Hammurabi or perhaps the early Kassite era, although some scholars favor a later date of c. 1100 BCE. Summary: when the 7 tablets that contain this were first discovered, evidence indicated that it was used as a ritual, meaning it was recited during a ceremony or celebration. That celebration is now thought to be the Akita festival or Babylonian New Year. This tells of the creation of the world, and of Marduk's victory over Tiamat, and how it relates to him becoming king of the gods. This is then followed by an invocation to Marduk by his 50 names. The title, meaning, when on high, is the incipit. The first tablet begins. The epic names 2 primeval gods, Apsu, who represents fresh water, and Tiamat representing oceanic waters. Several other gods are created, each and his brothers, who reside in Tiamat's vast body. They make so much noise that the Babel or noise annoys Tiamat and Apsu greatly. Apsu wishes to kill the young gods but Tiamat disagrees. The vizier, Mummu, agrees with Apsu's plan to destroy them. Tiamat, in order to stop this from occurring, warns each, the most powerful of the gods. Each uses magic to put Apsu into a coma, then kills him, and shuts Mummu out. Each then becomes the chief god. With his consort Damkina, he has a son, Marduk, greater still than himself. Marduk is given wind to play with and he uses the wind to make dust storms and tornadoes. This disrupts Tiamat's great body and causes the gods still residing inside her to be unable to sleep. They persuade Tiamat to take revenge for the death of her husband, Apsu. Her power grows, and some of the gods join her. She creates 11 monsters to help her win the battle and elevates Kingu, her new husband, to supreme dominion. A lengthy description of the other gods' inability to deal with the threat follows. Marduk offers to save the gods if he is appointed as their leader and allowed to remain so even after the threat passes. When the gods agree to Marduk's conditions, he is selected as their champion against Tiamat, and becomes very powerful. Marduk challenges Tiamat to combat and destroys her. He then rips her corpse into 2 halves with which he fashions the earth and the skies. Marduk then creates the calendar, organizes the planets and stars, and regulates the moon, the sun, and weather. The gods who have pledged their allegiance to Tiamat are initially forced into labor in the service of the gods who sided with Marduk, but they are freed from these labors when Marduk then destroys Tiamat's husband, Kingu, and uses his blood to create humankind to do the work for the gods. Most noteworthy is Marduk's symbolic elevation over Enlil, who was seen by earlier Mesopotamian civilizations as the king of the gods. Relationship with the Bible. The Enûma Eliš was recognized as being related to the Jewish Genesis creation account from its first publication, and it was an important step in the recognition of the roots of the account found in the Bible and in other ancient Near Eastern myths. In one interpretation, Genesis chapter 1 verses 1 to 3 can be taken as describing the state of chaos immediately before God's act of creation. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was over the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light, though most scholarly work on the Enûma Eliš regard its primary original purpose to be the elevation of Marduk, the chief god of Babylon, above other Mesopotamian gods. Researchers seeking to remove Babylonian influence onto Judaism assert counter-arguments. To address the similarities between the accounts, Christian apologist Conrad Hayes of the Princeton Theological Seminary stated that the Genesis account polemically addressed earlier Babylonian and other pagan creation myths to repudiate the divinization of nature and the attendant myths of divine origins, divine conflict, and divine ascent, thus rejecting the idea that Genesis borrowed from or appropriated the form of the Enûma Eliš. According to this theory, the Enûma Eliš was comfortable using connections between the divine and inert matter, while the aim of Genesis was to state the superiority of the Israelite god Elohim over all creation. Reconstruction of the broken Enûma Eliš tablet seems to define the rarely attested Sabbatum or Sabbatum as the full moon. This word is cognate or merged with Hebrew Shabbat, but is monthly rather than weekly. It is regarded as a form of Sumerian Sabbat, attested in Akkadian as Enuh Libi. This conclusion is a contextual restoration of the damaged tablet, which is read as Sa-Bath shalt thou then encounter. Mid-month, Li, editions and translations. Th.R. Camera, K.A. Metzler, Das Babylonische Weltschöpfungsepoche Enûma Eliš. Ugreet Verlag, Munster 2012, ISBN 978386835-036-4. The Seven Tablets of Creation, The Babylonian Legends of Creation, by E. A. Wallace Budge, 1921, at sacred-texts.com. Seven Tablets of Creation, Luzzik's Semitic Text and Translation Series, number 12 and 13, ISBN 978-0404-11344-5. Enûma Eliš. The Seven Tablets of Creation, by L. W. King. Enûma Eliš. The Seven Tablets of Creation, London, 1999, reprint ISBN 978-1-58509-043-3, 2002, reprint ISBN 1-4021-5905-6, at king-of-heroes.co.uk. Anton D.M.L. Enûma Eliš. W.C. Lambert. B. Parker. Enûma Eliš. The Babylonian Epic of Creation, Oxford. D.D. Luckenbill, The Ashur Version of the Seven Tablets of Creation, The American Journal of Semitic Languages and Literatures, Volume 38, No. 1, pp. 12-35. Zechariah Sitchin translation. As a cosmology of the solar system with the names of the gods as the Sumerian names of our 9 planets, with Tiamat, a 10th planet called Nibiru, our sun, and Earth's moon. An intruder planet called Nibiru enters the early solar system, making Uranus turn a 90-degree axis, pulled a moon of Saturn away, becoming Pluto. Then has a moon impact with Tiamat between Mars and Jupiter. Half of Tiamat becomes the asteroid belt and comets. The other half of Tiamat from a second impact is pushed to third from the Sun as new Earth, keeping Tiamat's old moon, Marduk, now as Nibiru, is locked in a counterclockwise 3,600-year orbit. From Sitchin's The Lost Book of Enki. This translation is an example of a work of pseudo-religion, and Sitchin himself is accused of not being a qualified language scholar.